Dub, dub.
You are Locked On Dolphins Postcast. Part of Locked On Sports Miami on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, Fins fans? My name is Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease, and this is your Dolphins Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Pumped to have you with me tonight. I got the old school Canes Big East jersey out, man, for all the old school football fans out there. Feeling excited about the Dolphins heading into the season? I don't know. I mean, the preseason went pretty well in terms of record and some of the things we've seen from the players, especially that defensive front, really looking impressive. And some players making a push to make the team and could play significant roles this season. But the offense, the first team offense against the backups from the Jags, man, they just didn't look good. Tua's timing didn't look good. So many things look off with this offense right now. Obviously, Tyreek Hill not out there, Achane not out there, Waller not out there, the entire offensive line not intact. So when you say starters played, the first few series of the game, you put a little asterisk around it because it wasn't all of them. It wasn't everybody. And obviously, when the real team takes the field against Indianapolis in a couple of weeks, we'll get a real read on it because that's the NFL these days in the preseason. You don't really get a real read on your team coming out of it. You used to really know what you had heading into the season. And with everything that happened last year, I'll tell you what, having Bradley Chubb back is going to be nice, right? But everything that happened last year, coming into this season, you need something, right? You want something to chew on. You want some meat on those bones. You want something to give you an indication of what you think you're going to have heading into this season. And that so many of these national analysts aren't right, saying that what you got is nothing. And what you got is a big dip down this year and a big hot seat for Mike McDaniel when you really would like to think otherwise and you would like to recapture some of that hope that you had heading into last season. I'll tell you that right now when everything just ended up in disaster. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. This is your Dolphins Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. 14-6 the final. They beat the Jags in Miami. And look at that audience right now swelling. Thank you so much for being here. By the way, I'm not here to replace Kyle. You guys, some of you are confused. We have a lot of new changes coming up on the network. One of them is that the postcasts are on the same channels as the podcast. So even as Kyle does one after the game, mine is separate. He does them every day. I do them after the games. You know what I'm saying? We'll be combining it soon into a squad show that will follow his show. So we are a team, a like and a sub for me or for him. Same thing for the channel. It's actually more his channel than mine, but it's the Locked On Podcast Network. So hope that clears up any confusion you might have. We're on the same team, and we all have the same goal and the same objective, which is to bring you your team every day. All right, thank you for making us your first watch or listen. We're free on YouTube. Right after the game, bang. Then after the YouTube show, where you can hit that bell when you know we're coming your way with more content, as well as come on into the chat after the game, which some of you already have, and we'll get to that as soon as we can. But we're free on YouTube. After this show, we upload, you download Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, Podbean, then Roku. You download OTT. Yeah, you know me. It's a party, baby. 14-6 the win, but I know you're feeling me about that first team offense right now. I want to break that down on the show right here, as well as a lot of other things to talk to you about. Your Dolphins Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It's Grease. Let's roll.
This is what you'll be talking about.
It's 14-6 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. But some of the things that I noticed in this game, first of all, that D-line is scary with Chubb and Chop and Judon and Phillips and, oh, man, just Sealer and Grant. That's going to be a scary unit. The secondary looks to be set. Linebackers, they'll be all right. But I think the defensive front will really be what stands out, and that'll be the best group on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, who's QB2? Who's QB2? More on that later. Just chew on that a little bit later, but really QB2 won't matter if we get our main objective and our main primary goal this year, which will be to keep Tua Tagovailoa healthy, right? Tua Tagovailoa is a guy who has to get rid of that ball quickly in order to stay on the field. He's going to die out there if he doesn't, right? And too many times tonight, he held on to the ball a little bit longer than we're used to seeing Tua do. Now, keep in mind, obviously, Waller's not out there. Keep in mind, obviously, Tyreek's not out there. Achane's not out there. Jalen Wright didn't even play tonight. So you get a nice real look there. And one of the guys who really impressed me this preseason, Ollie Gordon. I know that's a master of the obvious right there, but Malik Washington, another big game tonight. But the first team offense, Tua, 4 out of 8, man, 4 out of 8 against backups. Remember, he's playing against backups. You look at what Joe Flacco did for the Browns, going 9 out of 10, for example. Everybody's talking about Shedeur. Nobody's talking about Flacco. And everybody's talking about Gabriel, but nobody's talking about Flacco. Thing is, Tua should have been 8 of 8, 7 of 8, couple of touchdowns. They had drive stall. He's getting hit in the preseason against backups. He's having balls tipped in the preseason against backups. And then you add that up, and I don't like to put a lot into this, but we've seen it. We've heard it, right? The talk coming out of Detroit when they did the scrimmages with the Lions is that Tua and the first team offense got dominated. They got their asses handed to them. That's the talk that I heard. That's the talk that you heard. Nothing's a secret in this world anymore with social media. We get it right away. I love it. The athletes control a lot of the messaging that we get themselves. I love that too. I know you do as well. But when I think about this offense heading into the season and what happened against even the Bears, but the Lions in particular, and I'm not talking about the game as much as the practices. And then, obviously it got chippy with the Jags in the practices. They didn't play Lawrence. They didn't play much of their, really any of their starters, just a few of them. So my point being, when you look at this Dolphins offense heading into the season and you look at what's happened in this preseason, you haven't seen Tyreek. Achane hasn't been out there in a couple weeks, right? And you don't know what that finished product is going to look like. The offensive line, we're not talking about that here on this show. That's Kyle, day in and day out, does a fantastic job with all that stuff, the roster moves and all those things. But we're here to talk about the game that was played tonight. But as an offshoot of that, man, this offense kind of leaves me a little bit scared right now heading into the season. And that's something that I felt like we should talk about here on the show. What say you, audience? We love you guys. Come on in with the comments here live on the YouTube show. If you're listening or watching after, either on Roku or Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, Podbean, Spotify, thank you for making us your first watch or listen of the day. Yeah, protection was poor most of the game. Yeah, for sure. Protection was poor, but Tua also's got to get rid of that dang ball, man. Get rid of that ball. Get rid of that ball. Let's go Dolphins. Jason Sanders, right? Thank you, Brent. Welcome. Greece. O-line caused sacks and hurries. Well, okay, that's fine, Rich. We agree to disagree. Tua's got to get rid of the ball. I don't care what the offensive line's doing. You still got to get rid of the ball. He's holding the ball way too long back there, and that's going to get him killed. There's no reason to hold the ball too long, even when the offensive line's causing sacks or hurries, right? You still got to get rid of the ball. And I'm not bashing Tua. I'm not bashing him, Rich. There's a difference between telling the truth and bashing Tua. I think Tua is one of the best quarterbacks in the league when healthy. I think Tua was an MVP candidate. He was my dark horse to win MVP going into last season. So, no, I'm not bashing him. But what I am doing is telling the truth. When you're 4 of 8 against a backup defense, and, if the offensive line's that bad and the defense is getting through and hitting them against the backups, then he shouldn't be out there, right? So let's not say I'm bashing him. Let's calm that down a little bit. So you know what I'm saying? It really is. It is not a good look, missed assignments by the starters against a backup defense. It's not a good look. And the offensive line is going to change a little bit heading into the season, and you know that's going to happen, right? So some of those guys tonight were just overmatched, and we're talking about playing against backups. So when you're overmatched against backups, that's something that, you really have to look at. So obviously it's not all Tua's fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's a team game. You're a unit. You know what I mean? Everything plays into that regardless. It's getting rid of the football. It's protection up front. It's receivers getting open and running their routes a little cleaner, things like that. No Tyreek, obviously. Waddle had a catch, and, you just look for who stood out a little bit. But my point merely is that you should be concerned about the first team offense from what we've seen and heard this preseason. And obviously we won't know because, as I said, that's the NFL these days. It's not the preseason of yesteryear where you would really learn about your team and you'd know exactly what you had heading into the season. But the coaches value preseason practices way more than the games now. And maybe they always did, or maybe some or most coaches always did. But I always felt like the preseason games of yesteryear were more telling. Starters played more, but too many season-ending injuries happen in these games. You know what I mean? And when that happens, obviously, you're going to see those changes because the contracts are so big now. The stakes are so high. It's such a big business that, you're not going to be able to to not evolve and look after athletes' health, long-term health with the things we've learned and all those things now. But obviously the offense, the first team offense, however you look at it and whatever your takeaway was there, did not get the job done tonight. There's no doubt about that, and no one could argue that point. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. It's your Dolphins postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. But one thing before we hit the break, the first team offense did score. Might have something to do with the turning point. Here we go.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Into the end zone, Tua with the touchdown pass, and just a nice game overall for Malik Washington. 3 catches, 41 yards, and the long of 25, but a touchdown catch. And just really, when you think about it, they finally punched it in, but there were a lot of missteps along the way, taking some hits, getting deflections, and it makes you nervous when Tua's back there, right? It makes you nervous when he's back there taking hits because of his past, his injury history, and so much riding on him with this offense. Now, as much as you want to talk about Zach Wilson coming in, as much as you want to talk about Ewers and who should be QB2, there's still clearly a huge drop-off between Tua when healthy and having all his weapons around him being protected. He's an elite quarterback, everything but the deep ball, right? But one of the best in the league, no doubt about it, and possible MVP candidate when everything's clicking right, no doubt about it. It's Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease, Dolphins postcast, 14-6, the final tonight, 2-0-1 in the preseason as they finish up, and they have the Colts coming up in a couple of weeks. Man, what a nice feeling it is to leave with a win. Good job by the first team offense to punch it in. We have a couple of things to do real quick business-wise. Talk to you about some great companies that we work with, products, services, deals for you as a result of being part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease, 14-6 Dolphins on the Locked On Podcast Network. And I get a chance to talk to you about BetterHelp. I don't know if you guys know much about BetterHelp, but tonight's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. These days, it feels like there's advice for everything, right? Cold plunges, gratitude journals, screen detoxes. But how do you know what actually works for you? With so much information online about mental health and wellness, it can be overwhelming to figure out what's true and what will actually help. That's where talking to a licensed therapist through BetterHelp can make all the difference. You get real personalized guidance instead of just guessing based on something you saw on social media. I found having a trusted professional to talk things through with can help cut through the noise and keep me focused on what matters most, like football and work, obviously. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, serving more than 5 million people. It's easy to fit into your schedule, just a click to connect, and you can even switch therapists anytime if you need to. Talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/LockedOn. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn for BetterHelp on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. And there we go. All right. Also brought to you by our episode tonight. This episode presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning up the heat with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, me and Locked On Dolphins podcast and postcast are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. That's right. I've used Yahoo Fantasy for years. The updates they're rolling out this month, wild in the best possible way. I love the new guillotine leagues. They just dropped every week. The lowest scoring team is eliminated, and the last one standing wins. So whether you're all in on something new or you like sticking to head-to-head leagues or jumping into public leagues, Yahoo has got you covered. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days through August to kick it off. They just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a new killer way to play Yahoo Fantasy Football, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. With the season around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play in head-to-head private leagues or just join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, look at that audience. Smash that subscribe. Hit that bell so you know when we're coming your way with more content. Myself and Kyle Krabs with your Locked On Dolphins podcast. My name's Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. This is Dolphins Postcast. We're free on YouTube right after the game. Then you upload, we upload, you download. Very simple. Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, Podbean, Roku. You down with OTT? Yeah, you know me. Dolphins with the win today, 14-6. They beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's Tua going to the ground. You see the ball in his hand going to the ground, a defender on him. Not a good sight for the Miami Dolphins. I don't care what anybody says. That's a bad sight. You want to put it on the O-line, put it on the O-line. You want to put it on Tua, put it on Tua. You want to put it on the coaches, put it on the coaches. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that he should not be hit right now, barely, if at all. He should not be going to the ground in the preseason, and there is so much more that goes into that. Obviously, a lot of work to do because you start with the Colts on the road, right? But then you get 3 division games, and two of them are against the Patriots and the Jets, and they're both at home. You go to Buffalo after Indy. That's a tough one, right? But think about that. So, or those first 4 games, you're at Indy, you have the Jets and the Pats at home, you're at Buffalo. So 3 division games in the first 4. That offensive line, you got a lot of work to do there. Watch Kyle day in and day out for all the updates on that. And obviously with Tua getting in sync and having all those starters out there and all the weapons, but it is clear that he loves Malik Washington. It is very clear. You know what I'm saying? It's very clear. He loves Malik Washington. So very nice. Thank you for all the comments. Appreciate you guys in the chat. Really fun doing this show for you. 14-6, the final. The Dolphins with the win today. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. A couple of things to do. Short time to do them in. The first team offense did score a touchdown. That was our turning point. Obviously, that was a big thing you wanted to see tonight. You didn't see what you really wanted to see from the offense, but obviously they did get it going. There were some things that were very scary, like guys coming right through untouched on Tua, penalties up front, and that's disconcerting. You expect to see that, though, in the preseason, but what you don't expect to see is your first-team offense struggling against a team like Jacksonville not playing their starters, and you're playing backups. They're all NFL players, I'll give you that, but hey, I'll let you guys fight it out on radio stations this week and have fun with Kyle as well on your Locked On Dolphins podcast every day on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Again, 14-6 the final. My name is Grease, and we are going to go to the star of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
When they were out there, but not a lot of looks to see those guys. I mean, Chubb looked great today. He looked super fast, and that defensive line looks quick. They look strong. They are going to be something else to deal with when you're looking at Chop and Chubb and Judon and Phillips and all those guys up front, and that's just unbelievable when you think about Grant joining that group with Sealer. So when you look at the player of the game today, the first team offense wasn't super impressive, but you did get a decent look at them. I liked what Quinn Ewers did. I liked, in some respects, what Zach Wilson did. But honestly, I don't think either guy really stood out if you're looking at who's going to be the backup quarterback on this team. I don't think either guy really stood out. And the reason is punt, 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 punt. You're not punching it in. And they got the big play from the defense late in the game, obviously, to seal the deal. And, they didn't try to score late after that play. Obviously, they could have if they really wanted to. Probably tried to punch that in late with Ewers. But it didn't happen, and you're looking at a player of the game for this in the moment. I would say my player of the game, and I love this kid, and I love what he's been doing, and Tua clearly loves him too. My player of the game today for the Dolphins is Malik Washington. 3 catches, 41 yards, and a touchdown, long of 25, and he only had 3 targets, so obviously no drops, and a comfort level, serious level of comfort for Tua with Malik. So I'm going Malik player of the game. And then, obviously when you're looking at what happened in this game, the first team offense didn't light the world on fire. You're hoping they would against the backups, but they didn't. The first team defense looked very good. And then, of course, they got that game-sealing play from the defense late tonight. Mike Boone ran for a 7-yard touchdown. That was the other score that they got. The Jaguars haven't won a game this preseason. They rested their starters. Tua sat after the touchdown throw to Malik Washington. And again, just shifted gears and left the defense in his dust. 2 of 4 of 8, 49 yards. And Pharoah Brown caught the 2-point conversion that he was juggling in the end zone. Zach Wilson had the second touchdown drive. And then after that, it was just nothing. So I don't know that either guy really separated themselves, but it's clear that, or himself, but it's clear that Wilson's got that QB2 job right now. And Ewers is a nice project for the future, man. I wouldn't rule him out long-term for anything. Jason Sanders didn't play today. He dressed. Jake Bailey handled the kickoffs. They didn't really do much in terms of the kicking game. Bailey missed a 51-yarder in the second quarter, but a real nice job. You think about it, for some of these guys trying to make the team. And I'll tell you what, the guy who I'm really looking forward to see before we wrap it up here on the show, one guy I'm really looking forward to watching this year is Ollie Gordon. I know that Achan's the guy, and I know you got Jalen Wright, but I think Ollie Gordon, former big-time player in the Big 12 at Oklahoma State, didn't have a great year to finish up his college career, but, man, his junior year was incredible. So we'll see how that happens, and we'll see what the Dolphins do. You got 2 weeks, Miami, and we will be here right after the game with your Dolphins postcast. Until then, keep your game tight and your mind right, Miami, and thank you for watching your Dolphins postcast. Not to be confused with the podcast with Kyle Krabs. He's going to be on all the time, giving you what he always gives you and more. We have some new changes coming up. We'll be doing a show together after games with a former player. We have all kinds of things coming your way on the Locked On Podcast Network. Hope you enjoyed the show as much as I love doing it. 14-6 Dolphins. They beat the Jaguars, and nice job this preseason by Miami. They don't lose a game. You know what I'm saying? So here you go, Dolphins fans, as you head toward the regular season with a lot of optimism, I hope. I'm not sure about that first team offense, but again, very different team will take the field against the Colts in 2 weeks than what we saw today. And if you just wanted to see them get some work and put one in the end zone, then you got your wish. But I just didn't like seeing that ball held so long back there. Didn't like seeing Tua get hit. And I didn't like seeing that leaky and gap-filled offensive line, the penalties you expect. But we'll see. We'll see. It's definitely a work in progress. It's why they call it the preseason. All right, 2 weeks till the opener. It's a 1 o'clock game. We'll be here right after that on the 7th. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. Thank you for watching Dolphins Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. We have so many things to look forward to here on this incredible network as we work our way through football season. Make sure you watch Kyle every day and keep checking out the postcast after the game. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. Thank you again for being here. I am out. Dolphins 14, Jags 6 on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day.